Dark Bleatings everyone. I am a couple of days late with this video, but it is time to reveal who April's author of the month is. So I picked this author because basically he's a really good egg, as well as being a really good writer. And that particular author that we're talking about today, who I would love to shout from the rooftops about, is Dave Jeffrey, the author of numerous works, amongst which are the A Quiet Apocalypse series of books that I absolutely love. He's written many books. I have this collection of novels that are a series. I have this series of novels, is what I tried to say. I have this novella, Tooth and Claw, which is clearly werewolves, and I also have a YA supernatural horror called The Devil Device. I do somewhere also have an anthology that's based on the universe of A Quiet Apocalypse as well. So let me explain a little bit. I know Dave through the UK indie horror circuit, shall we say. I see his name come up a lot. We have met in person now finally. I think it was last year at Edgelit I finally got to meet Dave in person, but we've been friendly via the internet for a little while. And he asked me pretty soon, I think, after I actually started Happy Go Horror, to check out A Quiet Apocalypse, which is book one in this series. We've got A Quiet Apocalypse, Cathedral, The Samaritan, and then Tribunal. And I didn't know any of Dave's work at that point. He was completely new to me as an author, and I was so blown away. So the concept of this series is that the apocalypse has ended. There is a virus or a disease that's gone round that's killed most people and rendered the majority of the few survivors deaf, and then there are a few people that survived and they weren't affected in that way by the virus at all. So it's really sort of a post-apocalyptic story about how humanity moves on from that without that sense of hearing, and how that reshapes society and everything. And also there may be some contention between people who survived but are now deaf and people who did not lose their hearing. And also there's some contention with people who were already deaf before this all happened. So there's a lot going on, and it's very beautifully broken down into these 4 installments. I really love apocalyptic and I really love apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic fiction. It's amongst my very favourite subgenres of horror. I read a lot of it, so even though I'm like a major fan of this as a subgenre, I have become increasingly difficult to please with it over the years, because as I said, I read a lot of it. So it's getting harder and harder for me to find like a new piece of fiction in this subgenre that really like ends up sort of in my top 10 stories, should we say. So my favourites, as an example, for some background, are things like Stephen King's The Stand. It's a very tall order to measure up against something like that, if you're a Stephen King superfan, as I am. A lot of Tim Lebbon's stuff he's written a lot. He's ended the world many times, has Tim, and done it in a different and newly dastardly way every time. So I really enjoy those kinds of works. Adam Neville's new novel, All Fiends of Hell. So this is sort of like the kind of apocalyptic fiction that I really enjoyed, and I was so impressed with A Quiet Apocalypse that Dave had sent me the ebook for free, but I bought it and I ordered the other 3 immediately, because I had to know what would happen, how he was going to expand this world and this universe and this story. And I don't even know if I can pick a favorite between them. They're all so good, and I was telling everyone that would listen to me about it for the longest time, just recommending these books. If you like post-apocalypse and you like stories about, you know, the ever-shifting brackets of morality and human struggle and all of that kind of cool stuff, these are books that you will absolutely love. So I was really impressed with Dave. This is my favourite apocalyptic series of books, full stop. So there might be a couple of books in this subgenre that I might rate more highly if I had a gun to my head. Like The Stand, that's been one of my favourite books since I was 12. It's not probably not going to be knocked off its perch, but these are amazing. These are amazing books. So yeah, I was really, really impressed with them and reviewed them all, and have nothing bad to say about them really. Like, Dave is a very talented writer, and something that I love about his writing, and this will expand into all of his other work that I've read so far, is that he is very, very good at capturing sort of the authentic human emotions and processes and the way that people behave. He is very, very good at setting up characters and their motivations and having everybody just act like a normal human being would act in any given scenario. So in this, this is such a fun novella if you love werewolf stuff like I do. This is about a group of big game hunters, like super rich, elitist big game hunters that, you know, get invited to these private hunting events. Guess what they're hunting? So yeah, that is a really, really fun quick read for anyone that might be looking for sort of a quick read in a werewolf story. And then I don't really read much YA, although I am quite a big fan of the Hunger Games. And then I recently gave this a whirl and I really enjoyed it. So YA isn't normally my cup of tea. I'm not sure why. It's got so much merit. I think maybe I just prefer reading about maybe topics and stuff that are like covered more in adult fiction, possibly. I don't know, but yeah, this was a really good sort of like thrilling supernatural story as well. So I had a great time with it. I'm sorry, Dave, if you see this, that it took me so long. There is a review scheduled on the website now. I might have misplaced it, and I'm very scatterbrained, and when it was misplaced, I sort of forgot about it for a while there until I redecorated my office and found it that it had fallen behind my desk. So I'm sorry about that. But yes, Dave is one of those writers whose back catalogue I'm now working through, because I would like to completely finish reading all of his works and then rank them. Everybody loves a good, you know, book ranking, don't they? So outside of Dave's writing, which is incredible, and I recommend him to just wide horror audiences. I think that he's got so much appeal as a storyteller, the way that he does characters, like I said. His plot structures are also very, very, very well thought out. Like, if something unexpected happens, it's never... I mean, he has absolutely shocked me several times, especially with the Apocalypse series, the Quiet Apocalypse series. I was pretty shocked a few times in this, absolutely floored in this one. Don't even get me started on this. And then this entire thing was a shock, which is what I like, because I read so much horror fiction now, and I also have I have a master's degree in script writing, which I know that I'm not just like throwing that. I was like, meaning a master's degree, but part of my course was script analysis, so story analysis, and we broke down storytelling methods and, like, you know, where you reveal certain information and how scenes are constructed and all of that, which actually ruined films for me for a while, because I could always see a twist coming after I took that class, unless it was expertly done. And the reason I bring that up is because the stuff that Dave shocks you with in these books, it's never just an out of left field, just shocking you for shock's sake kind of thing. He is excellent at a really, really subtle setup. He's one of the best I've ever read for that. So when something happens that you didn't see coming, you suddenly have memories of all the other bits, and you're like, oh my god. So like that kind of thing. Like he's really thoughtful, really thoughtful with his plotting. I don't know if he actually plots ahead of time, or if he's a pantser like a lot of writers I know, and like makes it up as he goes along and then reworks the themes and stuff. But yes, excellent writer. I've gone into blabbering territory, haven't I? Let me move on to the other thing I wanted to say. The other reason that I picked Dave as author of the month is because he's not just an author, he is an avid champion of indie horror, in that he is so supportive of everyone else's creative horror endeavors. He's an extremely kind person who gives a lot of his time to promoting other people's works. You will always see him on Facebook sharing about other people's book releases, sharing reviews, sharing his thoughts on books. There are a few people that I know that post as regularly as Dave does about other people's work, and he's also an incredibly sweet, nice-natured, down-to-earth person to speak to. It was such a pleasure when I got to actually sit down and we had a few cups of tea at this writing convention, and we just talked books and life and everything. And he's like, I always say this, I know, but it's so much nicer when you're buying books from an author you like, when you know for a fact that they are an absolutely lovely gem of a human being, and there are few people that are as nice as Dave is. So I'm so happy to like throw my money at his work and support him financially. Like, I know like my, you know, whatever the pittance that he makes off just my couple of book sales isn't gonna, you know, buy him a mansion, but you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to support creators that, you know, are very, very good people. Dave is part of the Horror Writers Association. I just mispronounced association, didn't I? He's part of the Horror Writers Association, and I know that he works, I'm not actually sure what the different like sort of sectors of this organization are, but I know that he works in mental health, and I know that he had a long career. This is public information, by the way. I'm not just like dishing out elements of his life that he doesn't share. He had a long career in the NHS, working with mental health, and I think that actually that really informs a lot of his writing, as I said, about his character work, character motivations. And he's so empathetic, even when he's creating characters that are sort of objectively villainous. You can kind of see where they're coming from, or like you don't agree with the decisions, but you can understand how they got there. He's a master at that, and I think that just goes to show the level of empathy Dave has. I can only imagine the kinds of work situations he's been in, and like the cases he's overseen and the work he's done. So yeah, I really wanted to shout out Dave Jeffrey as author of the month for April for so many reasons, all of the reasons. He's really worth supporting. He's really worth reading. If you have already read any of Dave's books and you have not yet reviewed, be sure to pop, you know, reviews on Amazon, or maybe spread the word on your social media. Getting reviews is a really difficult part of indie author oh god, why can't I do words? I can never do words, can I, recently? Getting reviews is a really difficult part of indie author life, because we're responsible for that basically ourselves. Like, we don't have these enormous marketing budgets, we don't have massive publishers behind us putting our books into Tesco and advertising and, you know, full page spreads in magazines and things like that. However it is that people advertise these days, and once you hit a certain amount of reviews on Amazon will actually start helping market the book for you, which is incredibly helpful since it's the biggest bookseller in the world. So yeah, if you've read any of Dave's work, please share the word. Take the time to just pop a little review on Amazon. It could just be one word, good, you know, that'll do. Every little helps. Tesco pun, because I mentioned Tesco. Dave, if you see this, you're an absolute gem. You're an amazingly talented writer, and we absolutely love you at Happy Goat Horror. Let me know in the comments if you've read Dave, or if you'd like a recommendation for where to start, like what kind of subgenres he writes in, and I can point you in a direction with a specific book recommendation. But I wholeheartedly recommend these especially, and also The Devil Dice and Tooth and Claw here. I will say this last thing though, on Sunday we have another author interview on the channel. Guess who it is? No clues or anything. I don't want to give you any clues about who the author interview is with, but no clues or anything, guys. But there's an exciting author interview on the channel on Sunday. Gosh darn, it's my favourite thing since I started this channel, is getting to do these author interviews. I am having the best time interviewing all of the authors that I am obsessed with. So please